Okay, let's go over Chapter 5 quiz, and let's review that from last week. So let me get back into Blackboard. Let me exit out of our student preview mode and get back into essentially an administrative mode. Let me get down to our tools, go to our quizzes and tests. And let's bring up these item analysis. There should be one for Chapter 5. Yep, there it is. Okay. And let's see, let me make sure this is sorted in the right order. And we have all of the questions displayed. There we go. So 28 total questions in this quiz bank. So it appears that, let's see, out of all the questions, everyone who received that first question got it right. That's great. So it looks like 18 students received that question, and everyone got it right. So that's nice. And then we go down from there, right? So we got 90s, 80s, 70s, and right, we want to have the least number of 60s and below. So in this case, it looks like we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions that maybe we need a little bit work on. Okay, so let's go through the ones that were below 60 or below 70%. And then we can go through any other question that you have specifically. All right, so the first one, choose the item that creates an image link to the school.html page when the school.gif graphic is clicked. So let me read that again. Choose the item that creates an image link to the school.html page when the school.gif graphic is clicked. All right, so there's really like 4 things happening in that question. 1, that there's a link. 2, that it's got an image. And then the third one is the actual file name. And the 4th is the graphic file name. All right, so we have a link, what page we're linking to, we have a graphic, and what graphic should be displayed. Okay, so those 4 things should all be part of the answer. So in this first option that we have an anchor, but we don't have an image element. So right away, I can toss that one out because we need both, right? Remember, we're creating a link from a graphic, so we need both of those. So I'm going to skip this for now. We're going to go to the third option. We do have an image, right, an IMG element, but we do not have an anchor. So there's no possibility of creating a link here. So this one you can toss out, right? And now our third one, where it appears we have not only an anchor, but we also have a image element. But there's a few things that are wrong with this one, a couple at least. The first thing is that our anchor doesn't have a really qualified file. It simply has school, but no .html, right? The second problem is that in our image element, the source is correct, but we don't use href in an image element. So we got something more than what we really can use, and this would be incorrect. You'd probably get a validator error for having that. So this one we can toss out, right, for those 2 reasons right there. And so our answer is the second option where we both have an anchor and an image. We have an href to the appropriate file, and then we have the source to the appropriate file in the graphic. Sound good? Yeah. So this one probably took maybe a little bit more time to kind of, right, run through, read it a couple times, and then find the right answer. So, okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So you really have to know the material, is basically it. All right, let's go through the second one here. Select the browser's action when you configure both a background color and background image for the body selector. I'll read it again. Select the browser's action when you configure both a background color and a background image for the body selector. So we're applying both, right? A color and a graphic. Okay. The first option, display the background color instead of the background image. We'll display no background for the page because it's confused. It doesn't know which one to display. Okay. And then display the background color while the background image loads and before the background image is displayed. Or the last one, do none of the above. All right. So the answer is the third one. you can apply both a background color to the element and a background graphic, right? The color gets applied in the background, and if you apply a background graphic, it gets applied over the color, right? Why do we do that? Why would I want to have both? If I have a graphic, why do I need a background color? Bingo. What if the graphic doesn't load? For some reason, you have the color that's going to be most, right, complementary to your color scheme instead of white, because remember, that's the default. And if you don't set it, that's what you get. Okay. Any questions? All right, let's rock on. Our next question is, select the attributes that are used in the area element to configure a clickable area on an image map. Read it again. Select the attributes that are used in the area element to configure a clickable area on an image map. So this question is about image maps, right? And that's something that I think is toward the end of the chapter, right, in chapter number 5. We don't really do a lot with it. This may have been probably the only question on image maps, I would guess, because we didn't really do much with it. Because really, there's not many people that actually code this anymore. They use a tool to create the image map because it's so much easier. There's a lot of work to code an image map, okay? And so essentially, if none of these were familiar and you couldn't get to your book because, right, these quizzes are open book, open web, you just have to get it done in 10 minutes, right? These 4 were the correct answer. href, coordinates, shape, and alt. So this one was either you knew it or you didn't, or knew where to find it or didn't, right? It wasn't a matter of trying to, because we don't really do much with the image maps. All right, choose a technique below that will provide for accessibility when a web page uses graphics for the main navigation links. I'll read it again. Choose the technique below that will provide for accessibility when a web page uses graphics for the main navigation, right? So we're thinking about accessibility. We got main navigation. So what else am I going to do to, have that page a little bit more accessible, right, than without this next technique? Configure an alt attribute for each navigation image. That's good. That's a good idea. Provide text links in the page footer. That's a good idea. Provide text hyperlinks in the page footer and configure an alt attribute for each navigation. So basically the first 2, right? And then the third option, no further action is needed if the image contains text. Right? So the answer really is the third option. You want to do both, right? Use an alt and put in some text-based links at the bottom in case the graphics in your main links don't appear. Right? Sound good? Make sense? Okay, fantastic. All right, last one before we open it up to any particular question you'd like me to cover specifically. Use the blank property to eliminate the bullets from an unordered list. Use the blank property to eliminate the bullets from an unordered list. So our options are bullet-image, which, great, I'm glad nobody chose that one. List style none, list style type, and list style image. So there really only could be 2 possible options. These 2. This one really is part of a property and part of a value. So none really is the value of what this property is, right? So these 2 are off, and these 2 are the ones you'd have to kind of choose from. So while type allows you to decide the type of bullet, circle, disc, right, square, this one allows you, the last one, right, list type image says, well, I'd like to replace the bullet with a graphic, right? And so I think you did that in your case study. Any questions? All right, let's get back to the main list. Is there any question you'd like me to cover that we did not? So basically you'd be looking at your quiz and seeing which ones you'd like me to go over. Yeah. Okay, what are the first 3, 4 words in that question? select the code below is what we looking for. Select the code below. This one? I didn't read I couldn't. This one? From the top. We'll start there. Thank you. That would have been easier. Last one. All right. Very good. Here we go. Select the code below that configures a class called Offer with blue text, 1.2 EM, and Arial or sans serif font using CSS. Okay. All right. So look, it looks like we're all over the board on this one. We have. So the first one is, well, let's step back for a moment. We know that if we want a class, we have to have what symbol prior to the name of the class? A period, right, or a dot. So we can go through here and say, all right, we know this one's gone, and most likely this one's gone, right, because we're not going to be doing a class and a ID, so we don't use these symbols, right? We only use those other two. So that one's gone. So we have two that are goodbye. Now we're only really working with two. So the first one's called Offer, which is great. And it looks like they both have the curly braces so far, right? Both the first and the second. We want the text color to be blue, so we need color and blue, which is great. Then we're looking for the font size, right, to be 1.2 EM. Okay, so that is font size, 1.2 EM. They both have it. Okay. And then the last one is Arial or sans serif, right? So in this case, there's no Arial in this option, and this one there is. So these both, right, are needed. Why? Why are there two in there? What does this do for us, having two? Not quite. Yeah. Yeah, so let's say your local machine, right? Because right now we're coding this, that Arial must be on the machine that's viewing that page, right? So if that particular device doesn't have Arial, well then we're just going to choose the next, right, sans serif that the browser can display. And that's it. So you'd really want to show Arial, but if you don't have Arial, okay, just show whatever you can. Just make sure it's a sans serif, right? And so then the browser takes over and says, okay, here you go. Make sense? Okay, fantastic. And really, you could have as many as you want here. You could have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just keep on putting those fonts in there if you'd like, right? But truly and honestly, always, always have a category at the end. The category is sans serif in this case, right? Or serif, or whatever the category of font it is, always have it at the end, just in case they don't have any of the ones that you specified specifically, right? Great. Any other question you'd like me to review? Yeah. Hold on, let me get to that one again. No problem. No. Oh, here it is right here. Offer. Okay, so what's the question? Sorry. Yeah? No, you do not. No. The space is really there just to make it easier to read. Yeah. In fact, you don't need spaces at all. Yeah. Nope. Yeah, because it's okay. You can have space. You don't need a space, but you can have the space. Yeah. Again, so just, for me at least, it's a little bit easier to see a space in between there, so I can, oh, okay, got it, right? And they don't all blend together after a while. So. Any other questions? Quiz. No? Okay. Fantastic. Good job. So let's get back to here.